Hello, guys. Good morning. This is Pinkie, the housewife, and it's a very, very foggy morning this morning. But I'm coming to you with the follow-up story on the plane crash, the Delta Airlines plane crash from yesterday. Okay, Delta. It crashed in Toronto, Canada yesterday. And so I'm doing the follow up with you on that. And so we can see what it was like for the passengers on that plane. All right. And a little more insight into what happened and how does a plane end up on flipping over to be upside down on its roof. Okay. So let's go ahead and get started. Before we get started, let me go ahead and get the house rules out of the way. If you don't mind, I would appreciate it. Um, Let me just welcome everybody to the Pink House first. Welcome, guys. And I would appreciate it if everybody can go ahead and hit the like button for me. That would be something that would help keep me in the algorithm. And if you can, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. To hit the like button and subscribe, it's free. It doesn't cost anything. All right. It just helps me um, on my journey of keeping this YouTube channel growing strong. All right. And go ahead and hit. Let me just say thank you for doing that by hitting the like button and subscribing. Now let's get on with the matter at hand. I'm going to just put this trigger warning out because I know since we got so many plane crashing, falling and crashing within, seem like every week or two a week, I just better put that up because you never know who's just went through one or just have family members going through a plane crash. So I'd rather be acknowledge that. All right. Now, this is what we got today. All right. The Canada's Toronto Pearson International Airport, where the Delta plane crash happened. Survivors described what it was like on that Delta plane crash. Okay. But yesterday, while I was doing a live, um, it was breaking news. It happened while I was in the midst of doing a live commentary. It was, I got breaking news that a plane crash had happened. And so I ended my live as soon as I could to bring this story to you all. If you missed that video, here's the thumbnail for it. You can go back and watch that one from yesterday. I did. All right. But we're going to focus more today on how that plane ended up on its roof and how the survivors, they're going to tell us how they felt and what happened or what they feel like what happened and how did they get out of there. Okay. All right. Let's go ahead and get started. First of all, I'm just going to give you a little synopsis of it. The Delta airline jet flipped upside down while landing at the Toronto Pearson Airport with almost 80 passengers or 80 passengers that survived. All of them survived so far. They're still there, still living. And most sustaining minor injuries. So the crash captured on video by a passenger showed the dramatic aftermath and the upset passengers and travelers. Emergency teams managed the situation, transporting 18 injured to the hospital. And this was all expressed on by the authorities that they had no fatalities at the time of the crash. And thank God for that. One person did go to the was seriously injured, though. For all those passengers to survive, that's a miracle in itself. and it was Delta Airlines. Jet flipped it on the roof. That was on Monday morning, well, Monday afternoon. And the so we're gonna talk to some of the survivors and everything. Not wait, but we're gonna listen to their stories. I wish I could talk to some of the survivors, but we're gonna listen to their story, okay? And then we're gonna find out how plane such as that gonna flip. It had no wings when it came in on the belly. I mean, on its roof. Where were the wings to the plane? Oh, yeah. So let's go ahead and get started with the first video. And each video that I do, I just want to remind you that information will be down in my description box below my video. So if you want to go back and listen to any of that, you may do so. The first video is going to be with CNN. Okay, it shows the Toronto plane crash. Survivor describes what he saw during the landing. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with that.
Let's go right now to John Nelson. He was a passenger on the plane. John, thank you so much for being with us. We're so glad you're okay. I mean, who would have known that you were in a plane crash a few hours ago? It's unbelievable. You have video that you recorded. We've been watching. Tell us when you first realized something was the matter.
Yeah, it was a typical flight from Minneapolis to Toronto. And we were coming in, and I did know.
Today we are setting up this Chick-fil-A employee for anything.
The winds were super gusty. The snow had kind of blown over the runways. And so coming in, it just, it was routine, but like it was noticeable that the runways were kind of in a weird condition. And when we hit, it was just a super hard, like I hit the ground and the plane went sideways. And I believe we skidded like on our side and then flipped over on our back where we ended up. There was like a big fireball out this left side of the plane. And when we got finished, it was, I was upside down. Everybody else was there as well. Thankfully, everybody was okay. But we tried to get out of there as quickly as possible. And then shortly thereafter, I got done filming the video. There was another explosion, but luckily the firefighters got out of there.
They were there quickly, it sounds like.
Yeah.
So where were you seated in the plane?
I was in like row 10 of the plane, so just front of the wing.
And did you see the wing come off?
No, by that point we were being tossed around. I was just trying to hold on to everything at that point.
And how did you get yourself out of your seatbelt? And did everyone stay in their seatbelts that you could tell? Was everyone hanging upside down? Had anyone slipped out of their seatbelts?
Yeah, I mean, it was mass chaos. I was upside down. The lady next to me was upside down. We kind of let ourselves go and fell to hit the ceiling, which is surreal feeling. And then everybody was just like, get out, get out, get out. We could smell like jet fuel. Even now I smell like jet fuel. And then we just crawled out the back of the airplane. The firefighters, the EMTs were there right away.
Was anyone injured? I mean, what did you see? We know there were some injuries. What was it like?
Chaos. There was injuries. There was hurt individuals. Yeah, I mean, it's just all the emotional roller coaster that you go through, but things you hope you don't see again, right?
How are you feeling?
Stressed, nervous, shaky still.
Sorry, John, you cut out for just a second. I was asking
Sorry.
you how you felt, and you'd said that you're feeling really shaky. And we can pick that up from you. You must be very stressed from this.
Yeah, a lot of stress. It's amazing that we're still here. So Hope to not do that again.
And it really is amazing. And that's what experts have been telling us. When you landed with the hard landing and went to the side and then the plane was upside down, did that all happen very quickly? And what did that physically feel like for you as you were being tossed around?
Yeah, I mean, it happens so quickly, right? There's this like giant like pop crack, it's this like super loud bang kind of thing happens, and then everything just goes literally sideways, and it happens so fast that I just remember like kind of pulling myself in and trying not to hit my head against anything. And luckily our flight attendants and everything were helpful for us. So they are signaling me that I do need to move on. But is there anything else?
Just really quickly, do you know why the plane flipped? Do you know did it feel like it dipped one way or the other with the wing?
I don't know. I'm no expert on that one. I will let them figure it out. It feels like snow, wind, hard landing, all of it together.
And have you talked to your family? Are you going to see them?
I'll see them hopefully tomorrow.
Oh, John, that's not soon enough, but I'm so glad you're
Yeah, I
going
know.
to see them. I'm so glad that you're
Thank
with
you.
us. And thank you so much for joining us tonight. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
I do want to bring in now Aaron Murphy. He's a commercial pilot.
Okay, guys, you can see he still seems like he is still out of it. Not sure of what's going on or how he feels right now. He still seems like he's stung. He's shaken by the whole ordeal, and I can understand. And I just appreciate the fact that he did speak. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and finish playing it, guys.
With us tonight.
I want to quickly talk to
Okay, let me just let this ad play.
Hear some of what John was saying there in that interview. Were you able to hear that?
I heard John's words loud and clear, and there's nothing quite as harrowing as listening to someone's first account of a situation such as this, where you've walked away from something that you were probably sure it was the end. And I'm so happy that so many people walked away from this one. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And I know you say that this was a completely routine flight until the very final seconds before landing. It seems like that's what we've heard, maybe kind of gusty. We heard that from John. Another passenger said he felt like it was very normal. Can you talk to us, though, about what wind conditions were like and what pilots would have been dealing with as they were landing here?
Absolutely, Brianna. Cut me off if you need to. I tend to drone on a little bit about these things. This is an environmental factors accident today, which will also have layers of human factors and procedure and training. Every single accident has those three things in them always. Very demanding, very challenging conditions today at the Pearson Airport. We had winds from the numbers that I saw around the time of the arrival, 270 at 25, gusting to 40 to 35. I wouldn't be surprised if there were a few gusts that got in there over 45, maybe even 50 knots, just at the time when the RJ was touching down, which would be that very critical moment in the phase of flight for sure.
And so the snow component, with the snow over the runways, and it was even visible to passengers, what kind of difficulty does that pose?
The Pearson equipment, the snow removal equipment at Pearson would have been out probably for 4 days straight, because we've had something like I think we've had 25 to 30 inches or more of snow. That doesn't sound like a lot of snow for a lot of people, in other places in North America, but those equipment operators would have been going around and around the runways trying to make those runways as safe as possible. And I would expect that in the very last seconds of landing, there could have been a strong gust, which would have brought quite a bit of blowing snow across the runway, possibly limiting the pilot's view of the runway while they were landing in the very final seconds of touchdown, maybe the last 20 or even 10 seconds. So environmental factors are playing a large role in this one for sure.
Yeah, and their reports to investigators will be critical to see certainly what they experienced. Aaron Murphy, thank you so much. We really appreciate your insights.
Thank you for having me, and I'm glad everybody's okay.
We are all so glad.
You're the person with the gun. The person.
Okay, guys, let me just let this ad play on out and remove this. Okay, that's one of our first accounts of what really happened or what he felt that happened to him while he was on that plane, that survivor. And thank God he did survive. Now, I do have others as well. Let me go ahead and just pull up the other person. And it really do seem like, maybe just to me, that we are having more plane crashes than ever. I don't know how to say it, but it just seems like within this year, I would say this year alone, we had more plane crashes than I have seen. Seems like every week there's a plane crash, or every week at least two. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and listen to the next passenger tell what happened and how he see things. Okay, this is what today news in New York. So that information will be in my description box. Here we go, guys.
Okay, we're joined now by Pete Kukov, the passenger who recorded that harrowing video of the runway evacuation itself. Pete, good morning to you. We're so glad that you're okay. We're glad that you're able to talk to us this morning. If we can show that video, we just got in of showing the descent, and it shows just how fast, how you can see the flames, you can see it's happening all just in seconds. Take me back to those final moments of the descent and what is going through your head. How fast did you realize something was going wrong?
Yeah, good morning. It's been an interesting last 24 hours for sure. Right when, to be honest, I didn't really notice anything wrong until the moment we hit the ground. Other people were saying they might have. I'm not really sure what, but for me, it was just kind of like the wheels touched down, and then all of a sudden, I was in the window seat on the looker's left side, and then all of a sudden, I just remember being fully sideways, and I was looking down and just seeing like sparks and flames and whatever was grinding against the ground. And then yeah, it happened pretty dang quick, and we were just upside down hanging from our seatbelts.
Pete, we are so glad you're okay this morning. And you described it as like bats hanging from the roof of a cave. You were all dangling effectively upside down in your seatbelts. Can you describe what was going through your mind in that moment, and then how quickly and how you were able to get yourself out of the plane?
Yeah, so obviously we ended up upside down, and everyone was wearing their seatbelts as they should have been, including myself. And we just got to a stop, and yeah, I remember just hanging there, and me and the lady next to me, we got out pretty quick, and we're kind of able to just like unclip like you would, and then just kind of lower ourselves to be on the ground, which was the roof, I guess. And then I was at the window, but we were told, we did it really quickly, like within like stopping, we like both immediately like kind of got our bearings, unclipped, got down, and then they announced not to get out of their seats. So people were hanging there for, I can't remember how long, but just about a minute. And then they were like, okay, like get down. And at that point, people were feeling pretty frantic, and but everyone was obviously able to get down. Most people needed help, I think, from someone who had already got down. And then we kind of just slowly moved off the plane. It was seemed pretty organized. Didn't seem like everyone like got off in a pretty orderly fashion. It didn't seem too insane once like the plane had stopped and everyone realized for the most part they were okay because no one was seriously injured.
Well, Pete, we're so glad that you're okay, and just huge thanks to that crew, I'm sure, also that had the presence of mind doing what they've been trained for. Pete, we appreciate your time. Thank you again.
Thanks, Pete.
Okay, guys. That's another passenger that survived and was okay. As I do want to mention, so far all 80 passengers did survive. There are passengers that were injured, and there was one passenger that was critical injured. But for the most part, there was no fatalities. Okay. Now, the last video is going to come to you is the video that from CBS News, the national, the pilot breaks down how the airplane can flip over. Okay, he's going to break it down how something like that can happen. All right, and just remember, all this information will be down in my description box below my video. All right, here we go.
To get a sense of what the crew on that Delta flight was dealing with. He's in Houston. Joshua, I think for many of us, the first question we have is just how a passenger jet could flip like this.
Yeah, while we only have a limited amount of information that we know right now, what we do know is that it looks like the initial approach and even the final moments of that approach looked fairly normal. The granular data that we have from the ADSB shows that it looked like a fairly standard approach. Speed was good. Our vertical descent was well within normal parameters, and our altitude was also good. So that tells me that it doesn't look like there was any big issues prior to crossing the threshold. What we do know is that we had a very windy day up there in Toronto, and especially a lot of that wind was coming from a kind of a 45-degree headwind. So we had a big crosswind component. Now, this isn't necessarily abnormal, and pilots do this all the time. But the other component that we're looking at is a lot of snow and ice on the ground. And snow and ice in an airplane works a lot like the same way it does in a car. I actually just came in from Aspen this morning, and there wasn't nearly as much snow and ice on the ground, but we were sliding around on the taxiway. So I think what we're looking at here is a lot of that crosswind component coupled with some snow and some ice and a lot of factors that just unfortunately came together all at the wrong time to cause this accident.
All right. And obviously the investigation is yet to begin, really. But you have said that in a case like this, there's the initial crash and then the secondary crash. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, so when we talk about collisions in any kind of vehicles, airplanes or cars are the same way. The initial crash, that primary collision, happens when that vehicle strikes another object, in this case, the ground, or in the case of your car, another vehicle. That causes, the initial momentum to stop and the initial inertia to keep going. What we have and what can be more dangerous are secondary collisions, things flying around inside that object, vehicle. It could be people, it could be other objects that aren't strapped down that are still traveling at that 120 miles an hour even after the collision that can cause even further damage and further casualties. What we see here, and I know it sounds fairly contradictory, but people should look at the pictures and the videos of this aircraft sitting upside down and realize how safe air travel is. We have a plane that was going 120 miles an hour that hit the ground, that hit the earth, rolled, sheared off its wings, sheared off its tail, came to rest on its top, and we're having all those people leave that aircraft. It really is an engineering marvel, and that comes down to the design factors, how the seats are configured so that they stay with the fuselage and don't cause those secondary collisions. And the way that the aircraft is designed to break apart like that, designed to have crumple zones, just like you would in your car to absorb that impact so that it keeps that fuselage intact, protects those inside.
So stunning footage that we've been seeing all day. And you're saying that actually it happened as it was supposed to. What do you make of the fact that this crash, miraculously resulted in no fatalities and only over about a dozen people injured?
I think that's once again a testament to the engineering and design of the aircraft itself. But further is the professionalism, efficiency, and training of the crew. We look at flight attendants and cabin crew, and unfortunately, as passengers, a lot of times we look at them as, the people that get my drinks and my snacks in my flight. But these people, these crew attend weeks and weeks and weeks of intense training. And I guarantee you that training is not how to take your drink order. They go through every emergency contingency that can be thought of, and they perform it in a controlled environment so that when something like this happens, something so abnormal as a plane ending up on its roof, they know how to act. And I guarantee that the survivability of this particular accident was due in no small part to the professionalism and efficiency and the actions of that cabin crew, those flight attendants that were able to get people out of that aircraft safely.
Okay, well, Joshua, the focus now will be on the investigation. Walk us through what happens next.
So what we're going to see is of course, the American NTSB and FAA come in and work with the Canadian Transportation Safety Bureau as well to start this investigation. What they're going to want to look at is not only the conditions of the weather and airport at the time, but if there were any other contributing factors. Were there any other mechanical issues with the aircraft that could have caused this loss of control? They're going to look at black box data, CVR, the cockpit voice recorder. What data did the pilots have available to them as far as wind or braking action reports on the runway? What did they know as far as runway conditions were concerned? They want to know exactly what data was available to them and then what was going on with the aircraft prior to this crash. That, coupled with the current environmental conditions, the winds, the ice and snow on the runway, to really get a big picture as to what happened in the seconds leading up and seconds after touchdown. When we, as an aviation industry and aviation professionals, when we look at something like this, when we turn on our TV and we see a crash like this, the first thing we ask ourselves is, how can I make sure this doesn't happen again? What can I do on my next flight? I have to fly tomorrow. So I'm wondering, hey, is there something that we can learn right now to make sure that if I go into a place that's snowy, that's icy, that's windy, is there something I can do, something I can learn right now so that doesn't happen again? And then furthermore, at the conclusion of the investigation, what can we do as an industry, as a profession, to move forward and make sure that we can keep this from happening in the future?
All right, so many questions yet to be answered. We appreciate your insight. Thanks so much for this. Joshua Sherrard.
Thanks for having me.
In Houston.
Okay, guys. Whew, that is a lot. But keep in mind what he said at the end, what Josh said at the end. Just, if you do have to fly while all this bad weather is going on, just learn what can you do to keep yourself safe if anything do happen. What can you do? And if you want to go back and watch that video again, remember it's in my description box below this video. I want to go ahead and thank you all for listening and everything. And I hope to bring you more great commentary. All right. You all have a wonderful Tuesday. Just enjoy your Tuesday, guys. Bye-bye.